In today's video, we will talk about Bruno Carbon, the last of the old-school Italian mob bosses. Who is this man? Bruno Carbon was one of the most wanted criminals in Europe. He is a drug trafficker from Italy, the last major drug lord from the Naples region who was still on the run. He was the right-hand man of Raffaele Imperiale, a drug broker for the Kimora Mafia in Naples, who was arrested in Dubai in August of 2021. How Bruno Carbon started out. Bruno was a regular child growing up in the mean streets of Italy, filled with violence and corruption. He started out as a drug mule for smaller dealers in the region as a teenager. Later, he managed to move up the ranks and join the Kimora Mafia, one of the largest criminal organizations in Italy. Their initiation program is rigorous, and they prefer for an individual either to be a part of the family beforehand or have no background at all. Well, Carbon managed to get into one of the clans in Kimora, led by Raffaele Imperiale, and he became his right-hand man shortly after, and stayed in that position until 2003. Raffaele descended from a rich family and had everything, but when he saw how Bruno moved up through the ranks in the street, he took him in and vouched for him. Not your classic underdog kid rising through the riches story, huh? Kimora. The origins of the Kimora are unclear. The first connection is from the 17th century as a direct Italian descendant of a Spanish secret society, the Garduña. Officials of the Kingdom of Naples had introduced the organization to the area near the end of the 18th century. However, recent historical research in Spain suggests that the Garduña did not exist, and its status was based on a fictional book from the 19th century. The Kimora, with today's function and formation, exists after the Italian unification in 1861. The government made attempts to suppress them, and they conducted a series of manhunts, but the corrupt form of the police allowed them to always wiggle out, until recent years, when over 50 members of Kimora were arrested. Kimora is structurally divided into clans, with each clan having a capo, boss. That allows Kimora to act independently with a decentralized leadership structure. Each clan individually opens the supply channels and chooses jobs. They don't collaborate, unless there's a very big fish to fry. Kimora's main businesses are drug trafficking, racketeering, counterfeiting, and money laundering. They also love to bribe politicians in order to infiltrate the decision-making processes of their respective areas, making it easier for them to launder the money by obtaining legal businesses. Catch me if you can. Carbon was on the run since 2003, when he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for international drug trafficking along the Spain-Naples-Sicily route. The first major operation for capturing Carbon was a co-op between Europol and Interpol. They made a trap for him in Dubai in December 2020, but Bruno caught wind of that and outsmarted them. This chase continues like a movie. It's insane. They had thought they arrested the biggest drug trafficker, but instead they had a bald businessman from Naples, Domenico Alfano, in their hands. Alfano was arrested upon arriving in Dubai with his wife and children. The police were made a mockery of when announcements about Carbon's arrest were made by domestic authorities, and a little over a month later the businessman was released from custody. The Interpol team still maintains the position that the person arrested at the time was someone who had been sent in Bruno's place so he could escape the chase. International authorities are desperate in trying to catch and stop drug trafficking, especially ones that originate in Syria. Drug wars lead to human casualties each day, with the clans expanding rapidly. Finally caught. He had been finally arrested in Syria in November 2022 and extradited to Italy. Italian officials and Syrian Jihadists' stories don't add up at all, and his capture and arrest are shrouded in mystery. In one version of the story, Bruno was detained when he got off the plane at Rome's Ciampino airport, but it is unclear where exactly he was caught, with some sources saying that he was caught in the United Arab Emirates, where he hid most of his run, and then extradited to Italy. Mohammed Sankari, a member of the jihadist group Tahrir al-Sham in northwestern Syria, claims that Carbon was detained while he was trying to pass through the liberated areas of the country and reach the regions under the control of Bashar al-Assad. They kept him for interrogation for several months and then sent him to Italy. They also released his mugshot as proof of capture. Allegedly, before being caught in Syria, Carbon was held in Turkey, where he claimed to be a Mexican citizen, evading the authorities back home for selling fake luxury watches. He spoke Spanish and had documentation and goods to support his claim, but he didn't look Mexican to the interrogators, and that raised suspicion about his real identity. The other version known as the official statement from Naples police force, is that Carbon was arrested in Rome at Ciampino Airport in relation to a 20-year jail term handed down by prosecutors in Catania, Sicily for crimes related to international drug trafficking. The truth lies somewhere in the middle, since Carbon, much like his capo, hid in the UAE for most of his time on the run, and his capture could aid uprising groups in adjacent countries. Tahrir al-Sham was created in 2017 by the merger of several Islamist and jihadist groups, and although they publicly split from al-Qaeda, it is believed that they share similar beliefs with the likes of the so-called Islamic State, so they needed influence in order to grow out of the shadow and put themselves as legitimate regional contenders. After Raphael was arrested, a lot of the connections fell apart, as well as money and business sources. Bruno was left alone with basically no money, no friends, and no business associates, while the whole world was looking for him. He moved across Europe and entered Turkey as a Russian, before relocating to Syria, as he considered the country to be a haven from the law. His goal was to ultimately get as close as possible to the world's chief drug source. While he was trying to smuggle a load through Syria, a jihadist group caught him and used him as leverage against their government, which then used him as leverage against the Italian government, who ultimately wanted his extradition. There is a constant battle in Syria between Bashar al-Assad and other groups, so the UAE has been the mediator of Carbon's extradition to Italy from Syria to ensure everything goes smoothly. It is highly unusual for Syria to work with Western forces, or for Italy to work with Syria for that matter. So when Bruno was finally in Italy, they thanked the UAE for the help and Turkey for apprehending him. Meanwhile, as soon as Carbon reached Italian soil, warrants for the arrest of 28 other members of Imperial's Kimura clan were issued in Naples. More than $1 billion worth of drugs were found in Carbon's alleged destination, hidden in paper rolls and heavy industrial machines. Italian investigators claim that the shipment was prepared for Kimura from Syria, and it would have been the beginning of a relationship between Kimura and ISIS if it wasn't stopped. It turned out to actually be the works of the Syrian regime's money laundering scheme. If they didn't catch him, who knows what alliances Carbon could have made and what impact they would have had. Biggest jobs. A lot of criminal activity in Kimura is shrouded in mystery, with most of the claims not being supported by proof. But Carbon was in league with South American cocaine traffickers, mainly from Colombia, supplying all of the clans of the Kimura. He organized ships and mules, bribed the officials, and even went to Colombia himself in order to secure the safe start of each shipment. He also used the same connections to provide cocaine for other big criminal organizations in Italy and Europe, mainly Calabria's 'Ndrangheta. Carbon was the key contact if you needed large quantities of cocaine. He managed to smuggle boats to the coast of Spain and then break the load out into shipments of everyday items and supplies. He also overlooked the drug import from the Netherlands. There were also plans between Imperial and Carbon to break through in the Australian drug business due to a wiretapped conversation. Fun fact, Imperial became a rat as soon as he was caught, and that is when the major streak of arrests started. Carbon joined him in the witness protection as soon as he was caught, in order to lower his sentence and stay safe, so this might be the end of Kimura as we know it. Well, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, ring that bell so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Till next time.